There comes a time in every man's life when destiny stands before him like a mirror, demanding an answer. Life does not change because of wishes. Life does not shift because of tears. Real transformation begins the moment you decide that enough is enough, the moment you draw a line in the sand and say, I was not born to be ordinary, I was not designed to be small, I was not created to be a shadow of myself. Greatness is not a gift for a selected few. It is a call, a mandate, a responsibility. But listen carefully, greatness is never accidental. Nobody stumbles into relevance. Nobody drifts into influence. It is a conscious choice, a decision that is backed up by understanding and sustained by sacrifice. You must decide to separate from mediocrity. You must decide to break free from the prison of excuses. You must decide to silence the voice that says it is not possible for you. The truth is, as long as you are waiting for conditions to be perfect, you will wait forever. History is not written by those who waited for convenient seasons. History is written by men and women who chose to rise in the midst of contradiction and declare, I will become all that I was destined to be. Hear me, the moment you decide to be great, your environment may resist you, people may misunderstand you, even your own heart may fear the cost of change. But if you endure the process, if you stay with discipline, if you refuse to be distracted by the noise of small-minded people, greatness will answer you. Greatness is not just about status, it is about impact. It is not about applause, it is about legacy. The true proof of greatness is that your life becomes a ladder for others to climb, a light for others to see, a voice for others to follow. So I challenge you today, decide. Decide to grow, decide to think differently, decide to separate from smallness, decide to rise above the weight of your past, decide to master your gift, decide to discipline your appetite, decide to embrace knowledge. Decide to pay the price that greatness demands, for the world will not adjust until you decide. Creation is waiting, generations are waiting, and heaven itself is waiting for the courage of your decision. And the day you finally decide to be great, the forces of life align, doors open, and the power of God backs you. Greatness does not begin with the applause of men. It begins with the decision of one man. And that man could be you today. Greatness is never accidental. It begins the moment you make a conscious decision to rise above mediocrity. There are many who wait for life to hand them greatness as though it were a lottery ticket, but life never rewards those who simply wish. Life rewards those who decide. The very act of decision is what separates those who rise from those who remain on the ground. The truth is that mediocrity is the default state of life. To remain ordinary, to remain unnoticed, to remain small, requires no effort at all. But to become great, to carry influence, to make impact that outlives you, requires a choice that is intentional, deliberate, and sustained. It is not a choice that is made casually. It is a choice that shakes you from within, a choice that confronts your excuses, a choice that awakens your spirit to the reality that you were designed for more. Until that moment of decision comes, every other effort will be wasted. When a man or woman decides to be great, something shifts in their spirit. It is more than just ambition, it is conviction. It is the inner recognition that mediocrity is an insult to your destiny. To remain small when there is greatness within you is to betray the very reason you were created. This decision to rise above mediocrity is not made once. It is renewed daily as you confront laziness, fear, distractions, and the comfort of the familiar. Every time you refuse to settle for less, every time you deny yourself the pleasure of convenience for the sake of growth, every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are reinforcing your decision to be great. Greatness does not come to those who desire it casually. Many people admire great men and women, they celebrate their stories, they quote their words, but they fail to realize that what separates those individuals is not luck but decision. Decision is the seed from which destiny grows. It is the compass that directs every other action. When you truly decide to rise above mediocrity, your habits change, your associations change, your thinking changes, your conversations change, and your daily priorities shift. Decision is the birthplace of transformation. The moment you make this conscious decision, mediocrity begins to lose its grip on you. Suddenly, television cannot steal your hours, social media cannot waste your destiny, wrong relationships cannot drain your energy. Suddenly, books become more attractive than gossip, growth becomes more desirable than comfort, and sacrifice becomes more rewarding than temporary pleasure. This is because decision activates focus, and focus multiplies impact. Without decision, energy is scattered, and life becomes wasted potential. With decision, even little steps begin to accumulate into significant results. Those who rise to greatness are not necessarily the most talented, the most educated, or the most connected. They are simply those who refuse to remain at the level of excuses. They looked at the limitations in their lives and said, "Even though I was not given everything, I will rise. Even though I do not have all the advantages others may have, I will rise. Even though the odds are against me, I will rise." Decision transforms insufficiency into innovation, weakness into strength, and disadvantage into testimony. It is this inner refusal to be defined by where you start that becomes the fuel that drives you toward greatness. The world respects those who decide. Heaven responds to those who decide. Even life itself begins to open doors for those who decide. This is why indecisive people never experience greatness. They live their lives in circles, waiting for circumstances to favor them, waiting for someone to push them, waiting for perfect conditions that never come. But those who decide move forward even when conditions are not perfect, even when resources are not enough, even when encouragement is absent. Decision itself attracts favor because decision proves seriousness, and seriousness commands attention. Greatness is never accidental because destiny is too valuable to be left to chance. Nothing about influence, nothing about legacy, nothing about impact is random. Every man or woman you admire today stood at a crossroad where mediocrity called them one way and destiny called them another way. And in that moment they chose destiny. They chose to sacrifice, to discipline themselves, to endure ridicule, to walk alone if necessary, to pay the price that others were not willing to pay. That choice separated them, that choice distinguished them, that choice set them on a path that eventually produced greatness. Many will pray for greatness, but will not decide for greatness. Many will cry for greatness, but will not decide for greatness. But life does not respond to tears. It responds to decisions backed up by action. It is not enough to wish. It is not enough to dream. It is not enough to admire. Until a man makes up his mind that he will not remain where he is, until he decides that mediocrity is no longer an option, nothing changes. Decision is the turning point where potential becomes pursuit and pursuit becomes progress. So the moment you make this conscious decision, it may not look like much at first. Your environment may not change overnight, your resources may not multiply instantly, but your heart has shifted, and when your heart shifts, your destiny begins to move. Decision creates momentum, momentum creates opportunities, opportunities create results, results create influence, and influence is the proof of greatness. It is in the quiet place of your heart where you decide to rise above mediocrity, where no one is clapping for you, where no spotlight shines on you, that greatness begins. Because the man who has truly decided cannot be stopped by failure, cannot be stopped by fear, cannot be stopped by delay, and cannot be stopped by opposition. Decision gives you the resilience to keep moving even when it hurts, to keep growing even when it is lonely, to keep believing even when the evidence is not yet visible. Decision is what makes ordinary men become extraordinary. The proof of true greatness is impact, not applause, legacy, not status. Many confuse greatness with the noise of recognition, the clapping of hands, the shining of lights, and the celebration of men, but applause is fleeting, status is temporary, and recognition fades with time. True greatness is measured not by what people say when you are present, but by what continues long after you are gone. To live for applause is to live for shadows, but to live for impact is to live for eternity. Impact is not about how many people know your name. It is about how many lives are transformed because you existed. Legacy is not about titles, possessions, or positions. It is about values, principles, and influence that continue to shape generations even in your absence. Every man has a choice to pursue success that ends with him or greatness that outlives him. Success may give you comfort, wealth, and recognition, but greatness births influence, transformation, and continuity. There are people who had wealth, power, and fame in their time, but today no one remembers them, because their lives were built on applause, not on legacy. Yet there are others who did not have as much status in their lifetime, but their names are etched into the hearts of men, their words still instruct, their works still speak, their sacrifices still inspire, because they chose impact over applause. The difference between the two is focus. One pursued the vanity of being celebrated, the other pursued the responsibility of leaving a mark. Impact is when your life becomes the answer to the questions of others, when your decisions become ladders that others can climb, when your sacrifices become testimonies that others can celebrate. A man of impact may not always be the loudest voice, he may not always be in the spotlight, but he carries weight. When he speaks, destinies shift. When he acts, environments change. When he invests in others, futures are rewritten. This is why true greatness is quiet but undeniable. Applause can be manipulated, but impact is authentic. Status can be purchased, but legacy is earned. There are many who will spend their entire lives chasing titles, pursuing recognition, craving relevance, but none of these things guarantee greatness. You can be called a king and still be forgotten. You can be labeled a leader and still leave no trace. You can sit on a throne and still die with nothing to show. What makes a man truly great is not what he is called, but what he contributes. True greatness is not about sitting at the top. It is about lifting others while you rise. It is about creating systems, building platforms, and opening doors that others may walk through. Legacy is the ultimate proof that you lived wisely. Legacy is not about monuments of stone, but about monuments in the hearts of men. Money can be stolen, possessions can be destroyed, and status can be stripped away, but legacy is indestructible. If your life ends with you, then you were only successful, not great. But if your life continues through the people you raised, the values you taught, the sacrifices you made, then you entered greatness. The greatest tragedy is not death. The greatest tragedy is to die without leaving anything worth remembering. Applause is deceptive because people can celebrate you today and forget you tomorrow. The same crowd that cheers for you can boo you the next moment. The same voices that sing your praise can rise against you in anger. If your confidence rests on applause, you will live a fragile life tossed about by the opinions of men. But if your focus is on impact, then even when men refuse to clap, you will still press on because you know that your reward is in what you are building, not in what people are saying. Applause may motivate you for a moment, but impact sustains you for a lifetime. Greatness is about living beyond yourself. It is refusing to make life all about your comfort, your desires, your ambitions, and instead asking, what will the world remember because I was here? The men and women who shaped history did not do so because they were obsessed with applause. They did so because they carried a burden for something bigger than themselves. They understood that status is borrowed, but legacy is planted. When you focus on impact, you live with the awareness that every action is a seed, every decision is an investment, every sacrifice is a statement that will echo in the lives of others. There are people whose names are on buildings, yet nobody cares about their story. There are people who sat on thrones, yet their generations despise them. And there are others who had no throne, no title, and no public honor, yet their names are spoken with reverence. Their examples are followed, and their influence continues like a river that never dries. Greatness is not in what men build for you, but in what you build for men. It is not in the size of your house, but in the strength of your principles. It is not in the crowd that gathers around you, but in the hearts that are lifted because of you. The danger of living for applause is that it makes you a slave to men. You begin to measure your worth by how much you are celebrated, and in doing so you compromise your values just to remain in the spotlight. But the pursuit of impact liberates you. You do not live to impress, you live to invest. You do not live to be liked, you live to be useful. You do not live to be noticed, you live to be remembered. Impact frees you from the shallow pursuit of being famous and anchors you to the weightier call of being fruitful. Status is a description, legacy is a testimony. Status may put your name in records, but legacy puts your name in hearts. Status may give you privileges, but legacy gives you immortality. A man of status dies when he is buried, but a man of legacy continues to live long after he is gone. This is why greatness is not measured in years lived, but in lives touched, not in wealth accumulated, but in destinies changed, not in noise made, but in value delivered. When you decide to be great, heaven, destiny, and the forces of life align to back your decision. Life was designed in such a way that it responds to determination, it answers conviction, and it honors resolve. Many people think that greatness is only for the privileged, the talented, or the connected, but the truth is that greatness begins with a decision. That decision sets spiritual laws in motion, it awakens dormant potential, and it causes unseen forces to align in your favor. Until you decide, life remains silent. Until you decide, heaven remains still. Until you decide, destiny keeps waiting. But the moment you truly decide, everything begins to shift around you to accommodate that decision. Decision is a spiritual force. It is not just a mental act, it is a declaration in the realm of the spirit that you have embraced responsibility and that you are ready to rise above mediocrity. When a man makes such a decision, he triggers favor, he draws grace, and he attracts the partnerships that are needed for his journey. You may not see it immediately, but doors begin to open, opportunities begin to come, helpers begin to appear, and even challenges begin to align themselves to train you for what is ahead. Life does not waste resources on the undecided, but once you commit yourself to greatness, heaven begins to supply what you need to fulfill that commitment. Destiny is like a script already written, but it cannot play itself out until you agree with it. Many people carry great destinies, but they remain silent because the individuals never decided to agree with what was written about them. Decision is alignment with destiny. The moment you say yes to greatness, you activate the script of heaven for your life. Suddenly, connections you never imagined come your way. Suddenly, the wisdom you did not think you had begins to flow. Suddenly, strength you did not know you carried rises from within you. It is as though heaven had been waiting for you to say yes before releasing the resources that were kept in store for your journey. The forces of life are designed to cooperate with determination. Nature itself respects focus and consistency. When a seed is planted and nurtured, the soil, the water, the sunlight, and the atmosphere all align to ensure that seed grows. In the same way, when you decide to be great, the elements of life align to your advantage. Circumstances that seemed random begin to favor you. Meetings that appeared coincidental begin to work for your growth. And even adversities begin to push you towards strength. What once looked like resistance now becomes training ground. What once looked like rejection now becomes redirection. And what once looked like delay now becomes preparation. The alignment is subtle but powerful because decision has a way of bending reality in your favor. Heaven backs decision because heaven understands responsibility. Until you take responsibility for your life, you cannot command divine resources. But the moment you accept responsibility through decision, divine backing becomes your portion. Help you did not pray for begins to come, doors you did not knock on begin to open, and people you did not seek begin to look for you. This is because heaven invests in those who have chosen to rise. Divine grace is not poured upon carelessness, it is poured upon seriousness. The day you decide, angels are dispatched, favor is activated, and spiritual laws begin to work in your favor. Destiny is activated by decision, and decision is proven by action. Many claim they want greatness, but their lives do not reflect any commitment. But once your decision is genuine, your actions change, and when your actions change, destiny begins to manifest. For every decision to be great, there is a corresponding demand for discipline, sacrifice, and focus. Heaven will not do what man must do, but heaven will empower man to do what he cannot do by himself. That is why the moment you decide, you find unusual strength, unusual wisdom, and unusual opportunities to match your commitment. The forces of life also test your decision. The moment you choose greatness, life will bring situations that challenge that choice, not to break you, but to prove you. If you truly decide, you will endure those tests, and those tests will build stamina in you. The storms that rise are not to destroy you, but to certify you. The obstacles that come are not to stop you, but to refine you. The betrayals you face are not to reduce you, but to teach you discernment. These are all part of the alignment, because the forces of life do not waste trials on those who are not destined for more. The weight of your trials is proof of the weight of your destiny. There is a mystery about decision. It creates an atmosphere around you that others can perceive. When you truly decide to be great, people can sense it. Opportunities sense it. Even adversaries sense it. Life begins to take you seriously because you have taken yourself seriously. Doors that were closed begin to open, not because they suddenly changed, but because you became a different person through your decision. Decision upgrades your identity, and when your identity changes, your results change. Greatness is a partnership between human responsibility and divine backing. Man decides, heaven endorses, man moves, destiny aligns, man endures, life rewards. It is a dance between your will and God's purpose, between your determination and heaven's resources. The world does not see the invisible alignments that happen when you decide, but they see the results. They call it luck, they call it favor, they call it coincidence. But you know it is the product of decision that attracted divine backing and orchestrated the forces of life to favor you. The decision to be great is like a switch. Once turned on, it cannot be hidden. Once activated, it releases a chain of events that keep pulling you toward your destiny. The books you need will begin to find you. The mentors you need will appear. The experiences you need will come. The strength you need will rise. The clarity you need will unfold. The endurance you need will be given, and all of this happens because decision has aligned heaven, destiny, and life itself to back you.